Yes, because it seems to me that two of the most important constituencies for any successful movement would be the kind of emergent social justice movement, who I get a sense would focus on the fact that Martin Luther King had extramarital affairs, and ordinary working class people who feel a very long way away from the objectives of this new social justice movement. I feel like unless there is a coalescence between the kind of people that are drawn to nationalism and populism and the kind of people that are drawn to social justice, identitarian politics, unless there is an alliance built around, as you say, the kind of focus on positivity and alternatives and an acceptance of human fallibility and frailty, an acceptance that even great people of the past were humans, and as you have said earlier in our conversation, Satish, a composite of positivity and negativity, as the laws of physics would surely demand. That unless these ideas can somehow be embraced, mobilized, and congruent in spite of their superficial opposition, there's very little chance of mobilization. And I wonder, is actually the question that is most on my mind is how to achieve this kind of unity rather than focusing on this opposition.
Now, social justice movement, I totally agree with you, is very important. And social justice movement has to be rooted in environmental justice movement. So that is two sides of the same coin, because you cannot have an unjust relationship with the environment and an unhealthy planet and a sick planet. You cannot have a healthy society and a just society. So environmental justice and social justice are two sides of the same coin. But at the same time, if we do not have spiritual foundation and a spiritual rootedness, then social justice movement will remain skin deep and superficial and just organizational and just institutional and just a kind of systemic, but not deep enough. It's a superficial system. And so I would say, yes, social justice. I totally agree with you. We need a social justice movement, and there are lots of social justice movements there, and we need to support them. But that should be balanced with environmental justice. And those two justice movements, environmental and social justice movement, should be complemented with spiritual awakening and spiritual practice, and living example of that has to be there. So I would say without spiritual environment, spiritual dimension, and spiritual values of compassion, of kindness, of simplicity, of generosity, of love, of respect, of reverence for life, and reverence for each other, at the moment, even social justice movement, particularly the socialist and a kind of left-wing movement, they have only focused on human justice, but their aim of industrialism, production, economic growth, consumption, that is not, they have not challenged that. They are as industrialist as capitalist. They are as supportive of consumerism and materialism and production and consumption as capitalists. So we need to change that. And we have to say production and consumption should be within the limit of the planet Earth, and production and consumption and economic growth should be in the service of humanity and not its own goal. So the end and means have become confused. Our end should be human well-being and planetary well-being, and the means should be money and economy and a kind of industry and production. But at the moment, the end goal has become the production, consumption, economic growth, materialism, and means are nature and humans. So we are treating humans as if they were tools, they were instruments of making profit. If you are not making profit for a company, you are sacked. And so turning human beings and turning nature into tools and instruments of profit and economic growth is the basic problem, which I think left-wing and liberal people and so on have not quite understood. So social justice movement has to be rooted in environmental justice and spiritual values. Then social justice movement will be strong and holistic.
That's beautiful. I'd never thought of it in those terms, that in a sense that the movement is in a way just a progression of the individualism that preceded it, with a fixation on the rights of the individual, the role of the individual, whereas environmentalism, it imposes upon you a holistic and spiritual ideal that helps you to perform or achieve the necessary transcendence of your individual infatuation, your partialness to yourself, which is the root of the problem in so many ways, which it makes it possible for us to be used by the machine in this way, because we are all wed to our individual identity. We are all aligned to these principles. When enough people regard the environment and the whole as more significant than their own individual goals, then we become less in tune with the frequencies of the dominant culture. I see we cannot have social justice without environmental justice. We can't have justice for any individuals until we behave justly to the planet upon which we live, our host system, our parent system, our family system, our mother. That's cool.
And what you have just said is completely music to my ears.
Yeah, you just explained it to me.
Because I agree with you that this individualism is rooted in separation. And we say, I'm separate from you. I'm separate from nature. And then we separate that individuals into nationalism. And we say America is separate from Europe, and England is separate from Europe, and Africa is separate from Asia, and India is separate from China. And then blacks are separate from whites, and men are separate from women. So separation and division. So we need to overcome this division. And we need to say division is not division. Division is not divisive. Division is difference. And vive la différence. Long live difference and long live diversity. So let us transform this division into diversity. And diversity should be celebrated. It's wonderful to have many religions. If the whole world, 7 billion people, were only following one religion, it would be boring. If 7 billion people are speaking only one language, that'd be boring. It's good to have many languages, many religions, many nationalities, many races, many colors, many cultures. Like in a music, you have thousands of notes, and those thousands of notes make music. So diversity should be celebrated. Evolution favors diversity. In the beginning of the Big Bang and beginning of the time and beginning of universe, there was nothing. And then evolution had billions of years of hard work to create this diversity, millions and billions and trillions of forms of life. We should celebrate rather than turn this diversity into divisions and individualism and conflicts and wars and superior and inferior and hierarchy. So this separation and disconnection and individualism and nationalism has to be transformed into one earth, one humanity, one future, but we are all different within that unity. So unity and diversity dancing together, that should be the purpose. So we have to go beyond individualism, and within oneself we have to see, I am a microcosm of macrocosm. I am a whole universe within myself. I am made of my ancestors. I'm made of the whole evolutionary process of billions of years. I'm a child of the whole universe. I'm a child of the stars. I'm a child of the moon. I'm a child of the sun. I'm a child of the earth. So that kind of sense of unity of life, when we have, then I think we can rise above this individualistic separation and disconnection and isolation and lose the sense of belonging. We belong to each other. We have to develop and cultivate a sense of belonging to each other.
This is, of course, deeply contrary to the culture of individualism that pervades currently